Trae Young, first career playoff game. This is not bad for your Madison Square Garden, no less. And he silences the crowd with the game-winning floater. Spike is stunned. Shades of Reggie, maybe. Let's just say it wasn't well received by the Knicks faithful. Take a listen.
I mean, when you're in the zone and everybody's chanting F you, I don't know if any of y'all had that, but I've had it a couple times. I had it in college, and I had it again tonight. So, I mean, it got real quiet at the end. And for me, I wanted to hear those F you chants again.
I loved it. I watched every minute of this. I used to watch Reggie I absolutely love the narrative that's building. But, Nick, what do you make of Trae playing the villain in Game 1 at the Garden?
Oh, listen, if people haven't watched the Hawks, I just want Knicks fans to understand something. I'm sure they do understand it after last night. You are going to hate him. And it's not because he told the crowd to be quiet. It's because he plays an infuriating brand of basketball. It's effective, and he's excellent, but his stop-start drawing fouls, if the refs, to me, this is the series that's going to be most determined by the officials. And you saw late in the game, they were giving him the calls, and he got to the line, which is what set up the Hawks to be in position to win it on the end. And you get afraid of how you can guard him. You get afraid of getting behind him because if most guys, when they get past you, try to go to the basket, he gets past you just so he can stop in front of you. He gets past you and then immediately stops and jumps, so you run into him, and he goes to the free throw line. So he's going to talk trash, he's going to remind you of Reggie Miller, and he's going to have the added part, Wilds, of getting these foul calls. It's like a skinny, thin-haired James Harden, where you're like, oh my God, this guy's driving me nuts. And so I just think Knicks fans, if this series goes long, he is going to become the most hated opponent since Reggie. There's no doubt about it because of the style that he plays.
You know what I also like when Trae Young just nutmegs a guy for no reason, really. Could have just been a regular pass. Remember, he did that to Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza had beef with him. So here's the dangerous thing, Brandon, for Madison Square Garden faithful. At the end of the day, fans can only talk. They can't guard me. You're like, well, that's a good point. Unless it would be a great promotion to have fans come out and try to guard Trae Young. But just like Reggie, Reggie liked the booze. Trae Young likes the booze. So it's tough. You're kind of stuck. I don't know. You can't cheer the guy. But once the boos start to power somebody like a Jordan-esque type, Reggie Miller-esque, like I want your hatred, it's going to be tough. So, look, I think it would be wiser for him to keep his trash talk till Game 2. The fact that he's got another game in the Garden at least, like, we'll see. I think he's going to come off. They're going to boo him like crazy. If he gets off a little bit, then it's going to rain down on him. But if it starts to fuel him, the Garden faithful are going to have no answers.
No, but you have it right. It fuels him. There's some players that absolutely love those type of environments. The Garden was rocking. Jenna, you said it. You know, that was a game where you can easily watch every single minute of it. You had Spike Lee standing on the sideline dancing because Quickly had big moments fighting to get his team back there. You know, D. Rose hit some big shots. The game was phenomenal. But this kid, you know, he's bringing something to this series that we needed. On paper, it was a really good series, but it lacked the flash. It lacked the excitement. Now it does. So now everybody's going to be tuning in to see what's going on at the Garden or what's going on in Atlanta and what is Trae going to do. I mean, they were bickering back and forth all night. Quickly and him. Quickly was getting the best of him for you know, a quarter, right? And he was talking about he was too little. You know, so this was awesome to watch. I absolutely loved this. It was probably my favorite game to watch all weekend.
Also, yeah, I certainly enjoyed watching this more than I enjoyed watching the Laker game. I'll tell you that much. The other point, the big picture for the league, we've been waiting for the next generation of stars to have big playoff moments. The league had some bad drafts from 13 to 17, and you'd still kind of been living off the LeBron and then KD and that generation. All of a sudden this weekend, Ja, star turn. Trae, star turn. Devin Booker's a little older than those guys. First playoff game, star turn. DeAndre Ayton, star turn. Luka had it last year. But we have these young future stars who all in their first playoff moments showed up big in the biggest spots, none bigger than Trae. And that's the other story from this weekend's basketball, Jenna.
All right, we'll see what happens in Game 2 Wednesday night back at the Garden. We got to talk some Lakers, Nick. Anthony Davis's Game 1 struggles on full display. Is it going to stop L.A.?
I mean, as a wide receiver, especially a veteran wide receiver, you got to look for the perfect spot. I'm sorry, Wiles. I know this is your team, and it could be, exciting for you guys. But for Julio Jones, why would you want to go to a situation where you guys are running it play after play after play if it's Cam Newton? Cam Newton, there's times last year where you guys, only had 77 yards passing or 80 yards passing. Hell, Julio Jones, for the most part of his career, is averaging 120 yards, like a game. So that's not a great fit for him. And then if it's not Cam Newton, which I believe it is, now you have a rookie quarterback in there, and you have to go through that maturation process and him, going through that learning curve. So if I'm Julio Jones, this is not a place where I would want to go or entertain. Now, the cool part about it is Bill Belichick calling you, so you definitely take the call. You hear him out. But at the end of the day, you hang up the phone, you tell your agent, man, go find somewhere else for me. I really like the San Francisco 49ers. I don't think they'll make a move, but I love that type of offense for Julio Jones. He had Coach Shanahan before, and he went straight off. So I'm looking for a place for Julio Jones that have a quarterback, and they also give him an opportunity to win a championship. What else is there left for Julio Jones to do? He's done everything as an individual. Now it's time for him to go out there and win a championship, but he needs to be put in a situation where he can still impact the game. What does that mean? What's going to happen on first down? What's going to happen on third down? Third, 1 and 2. I need a quarterback that's going to look out there, see one-on-one coverage, and get me in the right route. Red zone. Julio Jones for years been getting crushed for not being able to put up huge numbers in the red zone. So I need an offensive coordinator. I need a quarterback that's going to put me in the right spot when I get to the red zone so I can impact the game that way. We're talking about 10-plus touchdowns, and this is not the right spot. I'm sorry, KW, but the Patriots is not a great landing spot for Julio.
Well, so here's the thing. I'm not as certain as Brandon that the Patriots offense next year is going to look like the Patriots offense from last year, because they seem to change it up depending on personnel. And obviously last year they had a quarterback that was, to me, pretty clearly injured and no real weapons. And even though they made some major investments this offseason, their wide receiver depth chart still goes Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers. So they obviously could use a true number one. But I agree with Brandon otherwise in this regard. New England, the reason that in the past guys would consider going there is like, oh, I want to play for a championship. New England this year is playing for a championship, a division championship. That's their ceiling, is maybe the Bills regress, they come up, and you can win the AFC East. But with or without Julio Wilds, they can't win the Super Bowl. So if you are Julio and you do want to move on, it's the only thing left. So I don't think going up to New England for him seems super attractive when there's uncertainty at quarterback and their best case scenario like the 9th best team in football.
Okay, but if I'm Julio Jones and I'm looking around, I'm like, oh, I'd like to go to the Bucs, but they're overloaded. I'd like to go to the Chiefs. They throw the ball around a lot. They're overloaded. The Packers doesn't seem to be interested in adding another weapon for Aaron Rodgers. I'm like, oh,
Packers.
What about Bill Belichick? That would be interesting. I just don't know if the Packers pulled the trigger on it. So yeah. I obviously love it as the resident Patriots fan. To me, Brandon, the other kind of storyline here is this would be the biggest vote of confidence in Cam Newton that we've seen. I vote for Cam Newton like out of my heart. I know the other players like Cam Newton because they're sort of remembering the old Cam Newton. But if a #1 guy said, you know what, I want to catch passes from Cam Newton, that would make me feel super confident that last year was an aberration and Cam's shoulder's okay and he was going to sling it around this year.
Yeah, but as a wide receiver, I'm just taking you to the mindset of a wide receiver. It's going to be tough for Julio Jones to go from being targeted 150, 160 times a year. On third down, he's the first option. On first down, he's the first option. and then go to a situation where the first option is running the ball. The first option is the tight ends and the running backs. That's always been the model for Coach Belichick's offenses.
Yep.
So it's going to be extremely hard for Julio Jones to go there. I wouldn't even want to put him in that situation at this point of his career, Jenna.
But at least he'd have great weather.